winner of the New Jersey Press Association's Most Innovative Award.
Welcome to another edition of Greater Media Broadcast News. I'm Susie Shia, bringing you the top headlines in Central New Jersey. Let's take a look at what's going on in your neighborhood. The Jersey Shore rebuilds by design. Comic-Con returns to Asbury Park. Prosecutor leaves for tour of duty. Update on the birthright bill. And a canine makes history. Before you rebuild something, it helps to have a design in mind. But which one is the best? Well, federal officials will be making that decision for parts of the Jersey Shore as they choose winners in the Rebuild by Design competition. The contest features proposals by 10 teams of local and international experts who study the communities hit hardest by Superstorm Sandy. The entries call for everything from a radically redesigned boardwalk in Asbury Park to man-made barrier islands miles off the coast. Their designs are aimed at impacting rebuilding efforts across the state, and officials will select at least one proposal as the winner later this month. The plans will be on display at the Liberty Science Center in Jersey City through May 4th. For more on how the Jersey Shore can rebuild by design, see this week's editions of Greater Media newspapers. And here's Mark Rosman with more headlines from this week.
Two members of the Manalapan Township Committee have announced that they will be seeking re-election in the November election. Susan Cohn and Jack McNaboe filed their nominating petitions last week and will be seeking to retain their seats on the governing body. Manalapan Democrats have named two residents to be placeholders on the ballot, and the Monmouth County Democratic chairman told the News Transcript this week that they will be screening candidates over the next couple of weeks and hope to announce challengers for Cohn and McNaboe. Cohn is completing a 3-year term on the Township Committee, and McNaboe is completing a 1-year term to which he was elected last November. You can read about this in the News Transcript.
And here's Jack Murtha with the latest installment of The Autism Puzzle, a New Jersey angle.
Living independently, whether it be in a rental home, an apartment, or a condo, is a shade of the American dream. Young people often yearn for this with encouragement from their all-too-happy parents. That goal remains true for young adults with autism and their families. With the right support services, independent housing can fuel a more fulfilling life for those individuals. And the knowledge that their children are established brings comfort to parents, both in life and shortly before death. A reliance on state funding and an extensive waiting list for that cash often makes it difficult for young people to make that jump, though. Like many of their typically developing peers, 20-somethings with autism can usually bank on spending a few more years with mom and dad before they move out. But when the conditions are right, a variety of options await those individuals. They can live in group homes, supervised apartments, and largely independent settings. There, they receive supports that help them with anything from cooking to cleaning to budgeting. Carol Myron, whose son Jeremy is about to graduate from high school in June, hopes to build a life for her son as soon as possible. But she says it will likely take several years before the 21-year-old stands on his own 2 feet.
Yeah, at some point in time, later on, 25, 28, something like that, you know? Independence would be good for him because he would be with peers. You know, he shouldn't be living with mommy forever. You know, I'm getting older. His father's getting older. I want to make sure that I set him up for success. You know. That's what you do for your kids, try and, you know, give them the resources and the knowledge and the skills. You know, and that's why I teach them life skills and cleaning up after yourself and the dishes and the laundry. Someday he's going to have to do this on his own. You know, I'm not going to, as much as I want to, I'm not going to be here forever. Where it's going to be, I'm not sure. I don't know if I'm going to retire in New Jersey, and I won't be more than a heartbeat from him. It all costs money too. Yeah, and It's like when you eat healthy. When you eat healthy, what happens? It costs you a lot of money. When you have a child with a disability, everything is more. Go buy a bicycle for a special needs child. It's going to cost you $1,000. They're specialty bicycles. Now, granted, there are bicycles out there for way more than that, but you can go and get your beach cruiser for $200. This is beyond an epidemic. You know, we have a whole generation of children that are aging into the school system. That are aging into social services. The system's so overburdened already. You know, that piece of pie is becoming really tiny. It's going to be a lot of hungry kids.
And here's a roundup of headlines from this week's papers. Comic book lovers and cosplayers are invited to the Asbury Park Comic-Con this weekend. The convention will feature professional and amateur comic book artists, vendors, and contests. An Edison canine has secured a place in history. A golden retriever named Belle has been inducted into the New Jersey Veterinary Medical Association's Animal Hall of Fame. She is the 100th inductee over the past 19 years. Monmouth County Acting Prosecutor Christopher Gramaccioni will leave on April 11th for a 6-month tour of duty in Afghanistan. He will serve as an in-house attorney for a Navy SEAL team. A proposed state law that would grant adoptees their ability to access their original birth certificates may not get the signature of Governor Chris Christie anytime soon. The governor said last week that he is likely to offer a compromise that protects the privacy of biological parents while allowing adoptees to access medical information. For more on any of these stories, see this week's editions of Greater Media newspapers. And here's Bruce Johnson of Greater Media's WCTC with an update on Rutgers women's basketball. After that, we have Tim Morris with more on local sports.
Congratulations to Hall of Fame head coach Vivian Stringer and her Rutgers women's basketball team for capturing RU's first national team title in 32 years. It was back in 1981-82 when Teresa Grentz led RU to the old AIAW national title, beating Texas at the Palestra in Philadelphia. Now, here in 2014, Stringer and company capture the WNIT championship by winning at UTEP in El Paso, Texas, 56-54 before a wild sellout crowd in a game heard on 1450 WCTC. Freshman point guard Tyler Scaife capped off an outstanding campaign by hitting the game-winning bucket with 2 seconds left. It was the 6th consecutive win in the WNIT for Rutgers, the last 3 on the road, in what was RU's first appearance in the tournament after getting snubbed by the NCAA. So the Scarlet Knights finish off the campaign at 28 up and 9 down, and on a high note heading into the Big Ten Conference next season. Stringer will virtually return her entire team, which automatically becomes one of the frontrunners in the Big Ten. And with that said, Mike Pavlichko and I now complete our look at the Rutgers 2013-2014 basketball and football seasons. We'll be back in the beginning of July when Rutgers officially makes its historic move into the prestigious and powerful Big Ten. Until then, have a good spring. I'm Bruce Johnson on 1450 WCTC and WCTCAM.com.
The softball season opened last week with Shore Conference A North Division contenders, Freehold Township and Howell, meeting in Freehold on April the 2nd. The weather finally cleared and the opener was a hit for the batters as they dominated the pitching in this 9-5 Howell victory that featured a grand slam home run from the Rebels' Bridget Coulihan. Taylor Menny, number 7, led the Rebel hit parade with these back-to-back hits and some aggressive base running. Paige Eckert chipped in with this base hit.
Way to go, Paige! Nice!
Sabrina Whitwager lifted this RBI single that brought Jackie Coulihan home with an insurance run. Marissa Barnes, the Pats' top hitter, delivered this single for her club. And they played some defense in this game. Tim Morris, Greater Media Newspapers.
The participants in a beating death of a Middlesex County man have been jailed, but one community is saying that justice has not been served. Here's Tom Castles.
Nearly 4 years after Old Bridge resident and computer scientist Dr. Devyendu Sinha died from injuries succumbed after he was beaten by 5 former Old Bridge High School students, all 5 of those offenders are in jail. However, several members of the Indian community feel betrayed by the legal system that they say gave those perpetrators lenient prison sentences, as well as the juries that failed to convict the defendants of the murder of one of their peers. Stephen Contreras, the young man who drove his friends around looking for a fight that night, June 25, 2010, was the most recent defendant to receive a prison sentence by Superior Court Judge Bradley Ferenz in New Brunswick. Contreras received a 12.5-year prison term for conspiracy to commit aggravated assault. His was the second longest sentence after co-defendant Julian Daly, who was sentenced to 15 years for aggravated manslaughter. Christopher Conway received 7 years in state prison for aggravated manslaughter as well, while Christian Tinley and Cash Johnson are nearly 5 months into the 6-month county jail terms they received for aggravated assault. For Peter Kathari, president of the Indo-American Cultural Society in Middlesex County, those terms are cold comfort to the community that was shaken by this heinous crime. Sometimes people do things to gain something, but here there was nothing to gain, Kathari said. They just killed somebody. How the justice system and the juries can overlook that, I don't know. But the Indian American community can never forget this.
Get on your dancing shoes. The Alborada Spanish Dance Theater Festival is coming to town. Here's Amy Rosen.
If you'd like to experience the feel and flair of an authentic Spanish fair without the cost of a plane ticket, plan to visit Parker Press Park on Rawway Avenue in Woodbridge on April 27th. Modeled after the April Fair of Seville held annually in Spain, the Feria de Sevilla Dance and Live Music Festival, presented by Alborada Spanish Dance Theater, welcomes all to celebrate Spain's unique cultural heritage with live flamenco music and traditional flamenco dances performed by Alborada's professional artists. Attendees will get a taste of Spain through castanet and dance workshops, colorful ruffled costumes, children's arts and crafts, and of course, food. Admission to the fair is free. More information can be found in this week's Woodbridge Sentinel and future editions of Greater Media newspapers.
And here's Kathy Chain with a report on a campaign aimed at making roads safer.
Law enforcement officials across the state are cracking down on distracted drivers as part of a new national distracted driving enforcement campaign called You Drive, You Text, You Pay. It began on April 1st and it runs through April 21st. April is National Distracted Driving Month. The campaign is modeled after similar successful high-visibility enforcement campaigns such as Click It or Ticket and Drive Sober or Get Pulled Over. 10 municipalities in Middlesex County are participating in the campaign. They are utilizing $300,000 in grant money from the Division of Highway Traffic Safety to fund increased patrols and checkpoints.
How do you stop everybody? You can't stop everybody. You know, there's been campaigns for 30 years now, don't drink and drive. And guess what? Every weekend we have DWI patrols, and every weekend we arrest people. With the funding from Highway Traffic Safety, the time that we can allot to it, if they have funding, we can have specific patrols just for this, and there's different ways. We can go with, we have unmarked cars, marked cars, spotted details. The best advice is don't do it. You know, or you get a designated texter. There's 2 people in a car, your phone beeps, tell your friend, can you check that for me? Why we stop people, there's 2 people in the car and the driver's the one texting, is beyond me.
This is Kathy Chang for Greater Media News.
For more in-depth coverage and additional stories, see this week's editions of Greater Media Newspapers. Show your support by liking our Facebook page at facebook.com/Greater Media Broadcast News. I'm Susie Shia. Thanks for tuning in.